Hey guys, Mike here. So today's cult classic review is 1993's Dazed and Confused, which includes an all-star cast starring Mila Djokovic, Adam Goldberg, Ben Affleck, and Matthew McConaughey, to name a few. In Dazed and Confused, it's the last day of school for a bunch of high schoolers, and they're gonna party like it's no tomorrow. And so we have Dazed and Confused. So guys, this is a movie in the series before watching and reviewing it today. I had not seen it before, and all I really knew about it was that Matthew McConaughey was in it. Didn't know whether he had a starring role or just a bit part, but I just knew that he was in it. Other than that, didn't know anything about it. So, what did I think of Dazed and Confused? Well, honestly, the first thing that I really just didn't get into with this film is this whole hazing thing that the Americans do. This whole thing where they have to kind of torture the freshmen, you know, kind of get them ready for high school. I just think it's completely ridiculous. And honestly, one of the only real arguments that anyone can make for it is that it's tradition. And I'm just like, well, you didn't like it when it was done to you. They don't like you doing it to them. Why do it, man? It's just stupid. And what made it even worse is when one or two of the characters just started being malicious with it. And that was just something I really didn't like. Obviously, the movie did put across that they were being malicious and, you know, they didn't try and, like, highlight it in a positive way or anything like that. But even still, nah, don't like the whole hazing thing. I think it's completely stupid. But going beyond that, though, the fact that the movie didn't focus on a singular character was, I thought, something that, you know, isn't really done all that often. Normally in these kind of high school movies, they have one character who they kind of follow for the whole duration and occasionally kind of, you know, focus on the odd one or two different characters. But for the most part, you have this one person who's supposed to lead you through the entire story. Dazed and Confused did not have that. It had about like 9 or 10 different groups of people who all had their own things going on and occasionally would meet up with other people, swap groups, and eventually they all end up coming together for the one big party at the end. And I wouldn't say that anyone gave a particularly bad performance, but at the same time, other than Matthew McConaughey, I wouldn't say that anyone particularly stood out to me. And the only reason Matthew McConaughey stood out to me was because the fact that I knew that he was in this before it started, and because of his one or two catchphrases, you know, such as, alright, 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 or, that's what I love about these high school girls. I get older, they stay the same age. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Other than that, nothing really about his character particularly stood out to me. Again, not that anyone was bad, it's just the comedy as a whole was fairly hit or miss for me. There'd be one joke or funny thing that would happen which would make me laugh, and then there'd be one or two afterwards which just wouldn't do anything for me. So, you know, kind of hit or miss comedy. One thing I did find particularly funny though was when one of the younger kids, who was about 12, 13, I don't know how old he was, he goes into a liquor store and tries to get some booze. Goes up to the counter and the guy asks, "You're 18, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I thought this was just the way of the shop clerk trying to trick the kid, and then he would say, "You're actually supposed to be 21 to get alcohol." But I looked it up afterwards. Apparently, some states in America, back in the 70s, had a legal drinking age of 18, which I didn't know. You know, the more you know. I have no idea if any of these states actually still do have that drinking age, but I just thought it was something interesting to find out. But for me, I would say the biggest thing that holds Dazed and Confused back for me is that I've just seen better high school dramas and comedies, such as 10 Things I Hate About You, Superbad, Project X. These are just much better movies in my eyes. And obviously Dazed and Confused did come first, and I can understand why a lot of people would probably put Dazed and Confused above these other movies, but for me, I just think those other ones are much better. The drama's more interesting, the comedy is a lot more hilarious, and honestly, I just don't think Dazed and Confused was all that at the end of the day. The comedy as a whole wasn't really all that funny, the characters as a whole weren't really all that interesting. So guys, would I consider Dazed and Confused a personal cult classic, and would I recommend that you guys should see it? It's very easy to see why this movie has become a cult classic. Matthew McConaughey's character definitely stands out a lot more than everyone else's. And for probably quite a few people, this is one of their first high school dramas or comedies that they saw. And I can see why a lot of people would absolutely love this movie and call it a personal cult classic. It's just for me, for a multitude of reasons, I would not consider this one a personal cult classic. For me, at the end of the day, Dazed and Confused was just a mediocre comedy high school drama, which beyond one or two funny scenes just didn't stand out to me in any significant way. But as for whether or not you guys should see it, for me, I wouldn't actively discourage people from watching Dazed and Confused. It's just for probably people my age or slightly younger, I wouldn't necessarily turn to this one to say, watch a great high school comedy drama. For me, my go-to would always be Superbad, but I can understand why Dazed and Confused would definitely be someone else's go-to. So in a nutshell, I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't say to not watch it either. Okay guys, that's my cult classic review of Dazed and Confused. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!